Meantime, in Europe, two Swedish mums have persuaded 10,000 people to commit to not taking any flights in 2019. Their social media initiative, No Fly 2019, is aiming for 100,000 pledges. Direct emissions from aviation reportedly account for about 3% of the EU's total greenhouse gas emissions. And these mums, who are in fact neighbours, started the campaign to show politicians what needs to be done to halt climate change. And Maya Rosen is one of the campaign founders of We Stay on the Ground, and she joins us now. Maya, great to have you with us. Tell us, first of all, how this idea came about.
Well, I gave up flying personally 10 years ago for climate reasons. And ever since, I've been struggling a bit when talking to people about flights, because, part of me don't want to destroy the atmosphere. But I've also been thinking that we're in the middle of an acute climate crisis. So I was questioning myself, why didn't I say something? And this year I gave myself a New Year's resolution to dare to be a bit socially inconvenient and start talking about climate change with people. And I realized that it's actually possible to speak to people about it without them getting offended. And then when the flying debate got started here in Sweden, I decided that, the time is now to start this campaign that I've been thinking about for a couple of years.
A couple of years. You say you gave up flying 10 years ago, a decade ago. Why is this mission not to destroy the atmosphere so important to you?
Well, I have two children, and once you realize that, the climate change is not something that's going to happen to someone else somewhere else. My children's lives are at stake, and I think that as most parents, I want to do everything I can to save their lives.
Do you believe that there's a disconnection between that, the fact that you say that the future of your children, their lives is at stake, and the actions that we're taking day to day now for that instant gratification for what we just consider is a need right now? Do you think there's a disconnect?
I think most people hasn't at all realized how serious this crisis is. Now when we're doing this campaign, we're quite a few people now that go out and speak to people in the streets. And when I ask them if they worry about climate change, everyone says yes. But then if I ask them, what worries you? What do you think is going to happen to you? It's very obvious that most people don't have the connection that it's something that's going to happen to themselves. And I think the problem is that we look at everyone around us. And since most people don't act as if we are in the middle of an acute crisis situation, people tend to just keep on acting like everyone else does. So that's why it's so important for us who's understood what's going on to show with our actions what needs to be done.
Sure, and Sweden is at the forefront of consciousness about climate change, particularly, as you say, around aviation and the impact that that's having on the atmosphere. What do you put that down to?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that question.
What reasons do you believe put Sweden perhaps at the forefront of consciousness about the impact of climate change?
I don't really think we are in the forefront. Well, we are in a way, but I think Swedish people, they think that because we live in a country that's very clean and we're very, we recycle everything properly and we do. I think a lot of people, Swedish people, think that we are doing well for the climate, and they don't realize that we are actually among the worst when it comes to our individual emissions.
Sure, so perhaps those taxes are deceiving in terms of how much work there still is to be done. So what do you say to climate change deniers then?
Well, climate change deniers, I don't really waste much energy talking to. I think most people are in kind of climate denying, though, when it comes to what needs to be done. But I think like 95% of the population would actually be willing to change their lifestyles if they just sort of, if somebody gets started and show what needs to be done, I think most people would do that. But to me, there's no point in wasting energy on those who deny climate change itself.
Well, you already have 10,000 people that have signed on to your campaign, 90,000 to go. All the best to you, Maya. Yeah. Thank you for being with us here on Perspectives.
Thank you.